show and you want to see it on YouTube, YouTube's rolling, Periscope's rolling, but I'm missing my soft thing for my ear. What am I going to do with this thing? I need better headphones, is what I need. I'm going to do the show with one ear thing, I guess. It'll work. I can hear your calls. I have a very special protest today, and I can't wait to get around to it. It has to do with the Beach City Council. Hey, I had a great time, by the way, on WPNN yesterday in Pensacola. So if you were listening on Talk 790 with WPNN in Pensacola, I had a great time. And if you're just tuning in to YouTube to see the show for the first time, welcome. Glad to have you. And I'm going to give you the phone number, so if you want to write it down, you can call anytime during the show, and if I get a chance, I'll take your call. Also, of course, you can listen to myfreedomradio.com, but Periscope, I think, is kind of the most fun. I'm looking right at you if you've got the Periscope app. Why wouldn't you? I don't understand it. Oh, I forgot. Whatever you do, don't get the Periscope app. That's the way to get people to do things. Whatever you do, don't get the Periscope app because it's too much fun, and it's personal. You can comment right on the Periscope app. You just download it on your phone, and you search for the little @ sign, Burnie Thompson, Burnie Thompson, and there I am, and there you are. You can, if you like what I'm saying, you touch the screen, and little hearts appear. Oh, by the way, if you're watching, sweetheart, this is that green shirt I was telling you about. Do you like the green shirt? It's kind of like an army green, which is kind of cool. It's a color I don't normally wear. I'm kind of a blue and brown guy. I'm one of those earth tone guys. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know why. But anyway. Oh, you want to talk more about the shirt? Well, this whole thing, never mind. I did something yesterday, and I got to keep a close eye on messages today because there's going to be some breaking news. Either I'm going to break it or the news is going to break it, but you're going to be amazed at what we discovered. I was on Pensacola yesterday, as I told you, and WPNN 790 was the first radio station that helped expand my show from our flagship station, Talk Radio 101, when I started there back in 2007. And I have a very strong affinity for Talk 790. And I hope that the owner, I hope Papa Don Schroeder, and I hope Scott and John Wheeler, I hope everybody's watching and joining, and we'll link arms, because the more of us that link arms, the bigger difference we're going to make. And we're already making a bit of a difference. I do have a special protest that I'll engage in just a little while. It seems a bit early to engage in this special protest that I have in mind, and I'll explain more about it as the time comes. But will you do me a favor? Will you invite people to tune in? They can listen at My Freedom Radio, or they can, the best way to do it is with the Periscope app. Just download the Periscope app, search for me, follow me, and then you can talk to me right on the screen. You can leave comments right on the screen. I'm looking right at you. And, of course, on YouTube, if you go to YouTube and then search one word, My Freedom Radio, and then you look up, it says, do you mean My Freedom Radio? Yeah, I meant My Freedom Radio. That's why I typed it. And then you just click it. But when I was with WPNN yesterday, we talked a lot about several things. And one of the issues that came up was the fact that their representative, their congressman, Jeff Miller, he's going to be gone. Do you know that? He's going to run, I think, for Marco Rubio's seat as Rubio runs for president. He's going to run for that seat. So Jeff Miller wants to be a Senator Miller. Does he deserve it? Hell no, he doesn't deserve it. He's the guy who oversees the committee, by the way, that is supposed to take care of the VA. He's the guy that takes care of that committee. Has the VA been improved? If you use the VA, will you call and let me know if your service has been improved? The phone number here is 850-252-8260, 850-252 8260. If you use the VA, are they providing better service for you? Or do you still have to? I know a guy had to travel all the way, gosh, where did he go? Biloxi, maybe? Just to get a colonoscopy, a routine colonoscopy. He had to go all the way out there. Now, he had to go a day early. He had to miss work, go a day early, stay in a hotel, and then come back. Now, he had to go a day early. Why do you think he had to go a day early? Exactly right. You don't want to be driving up there the day after you sleep, if you know what I'm talking about. So it took a day and a half or two, and he had to go all the way out there for a routine colonoscopy that he could have had done here. But you know what? They build big buildings, and they have jobs programs, and some of the executives at the VA, they make a whole bunch of they make a whole bunch of bonuses. It's great to see you too. I think that was Felix. If you're on Periscope, I can see your comments. And we're just getting started, by the way, with Periscope and with YouTube. What I'm trying to do is give you so many new and exciting ways to participate in the show, to link arms, and to make a difference. Hey, sometimes we're going to lose, just like we lost, just like I lost, right? Bam, they knocked me right down. But guess what? We're back, and we'll have a chance to do things like all we can do to stand for the office of sheriff. We'll have a chance to do all we can do to stand against 5 great forbidders who vote to shut down a scooter business. Never in my life did I think that I would be standing up for a scooter business. I can't stand scooters. I absolutely... Oh, really? This is the kind of shirt that lots of communists in Cuba wear. That is Felix. Felix from Tampa, right? But it looks better on me. Okay. Yeah, this shirt here, this old thing, I picked it up at Sam's Club. I never wear this sort of fatigue army green. I thought it was kind of cool. You know who wore this color shirt a lot was the character in Jericho. You ever watch the TV show Jericho? I don't remember the main character. What was his name again? Jake. His name was Jake. He used to wear this color shirt. And I saw it in the store, and I picked it up. Well, thanks, Felix. I appreciate it. I'm glad it looks better on me than it does on the communists. All right. So one of the things that we were talking about was the national debt and how I would frame the national debt. Really, how I would frame it is, and this is how I hope you'll frame it too. Because do you notice that when we talk about one of the biggest problems in America is the government debt, nobody gives a flip. And do you know why they don't? Because they don't understand it. They think, well, that's a lot of money the government has to pay back. No, what that really is the government's equivalent of back taxes that it owes us. And what we ought to do is we ought to treat the government exactly the same way that the government treats us. That's how we ought to do it. By the way, Obama is giving a speech about the shooting. As a matter of fact, let's see if we can hear this. Here we go again. There was a shooter, so Obama wants all the guns. Because the government doesn't shoot people. He wants all the guns. We're going to take a listen to this here in just a second. In fact, let's go to it now. It looks like it's live.
I spoke with and Vice President Biden spoke with Mayor Joe Riley and other leaders at Charleston to express our deep sorrow over the senseless murders that took place last night. Michelle and I know several members of Emmanuel AME Church. We knew their pastor, Reverend Clementa Pinckney, who, along with 8 others, gathered in prayer and fellowship and was murdered last night. And to say our thoughts and prayers are with them and their families and their community, it doesn't say enough to convey the heartache and the sadness and the anger that we feel. Any death of this sort is a tragedy. Any shooting involving multiple victims is a tragedy.
It's worse than a tragedy.
There is something
Here we go.
particularly heartbreaking about a death happening in a place in which we seek solace and we seek peace.
Here we go.
In a place of worship. And Mother Emanuel is, in fact, more than a church. This is a place of worship that was founded by African Americans seeking liberty.
Oh.
This is a church that was burned to the ground because its worshipers worked to end slavery. When there were laws banning all black church gatherings, they conducted services in secret.
You see where he's going with this?
When there was a nonviolent movement to bring our country closer in line with our highest ideals, some of our brightest leaders spoke and led marches from this church's steps. This is a sacred place.
It's more than a church. It's more than a church. And then he invokes race. Here we go.
In the history of Charleston and in the history of America. The FBI is now on the scene with local police, and more of the Bureau's best are on the way to join them. The Attorney General has announced plans for the FBI to open a hate crime investigation. We understand that these...
You hear that? All right. So it's more than a mass murder. It's more than a church. It's where black people are. So there's a hate crime investigation underway. Do you know why I'm opposed to hate crimes? How do you feel about hate crimes? Phone number is 850-252-8260. Here is the problem, and I remember back when producer Jen and I were doing shows together back around 2009. And producer Jen asked me, what is it exactly that makes you so upset when it comes to hate crimes? And I said, because it creates a special class of victims. Because if there is such a thing as hate crimes, then the penalty is increased, which means one person's life means more than another person's life. Everybody's life is sacred. Would you agree with that? Black, white, straight, gay, male, female, fat, skinny, Democrat, Republican. Oh, no, the Democrats just disagreed with it. They said Republicans. Everybody's life is sacred. And so, therefore, if somebody murders another human being, they should face the same punishment no matter what the victim looks like. That's the problem with hate crimes. Am I right or wrong? 850-252-8260. That's the number, 850-252-8260. Here's more from Barack Obama. So now we know it's gone from mass murder to hate crimes. He's about a third of the way through this speech. What are the odds he's going to start bringing up gun cultural problem? You think he will? Is this guy an opportunist, or is this guy an opportunist?
Suspect is in custody, and I'll let the best of law enforcement do its work to make sure that justice is served. Until the investigation is complete, I'm necessarily constrained in terms of talking about the details of the case. But I don't need to be constrained about the emotions that tragedies like this raise. I've had to make statements.
Can I just tell you that a mass murder, here's what a tragedy is. And to me, words are important. A tragedy is a hurricane. A tragedy is a tsunami. A tragedy is cancer. A tragedy is a car crash. When somebody commits murder, that is evil doing. It's more than a tragedy. It's a massacre. It's evil. Call it what it is. But it's more than a tragedy. And that, to me, is a distinction with a difference. Is it to you? It's a distinction with a difference to me. So, one of you just said, never let a good crisis go to waste. Never let a serious crisis go to waste. And, of course, that's a quote from his first chief of staff, Rahm Emanuel. So here we go. He's going to take this And what do you think he's going to do with it? And do you think he'll be successful? And do you think anybody will stand against him? And Felix, who's watching on Periscope, is of Cuban descent. He made a joke a moment ago about my fatigue green shirt being the color that they wore in Cuba, but it looks better on me than it did the communists, and I appreciate that. But isn't this very similar to the kinds of things that happened in 1959 when they came in, Castro and Che Guevara, and they said that we're going to make it a better place. We're going to make it a safer place. We're going to make it a more fair place. And they turned that island into a prison where 11 million people or so have been imprisoned. And you hear it all the time. It's always gun control. It's always silencing dissent and gun control. And I told you that if this guy got a second term, it would be all about silencing silencing dissent and gun control. Because to Barack Obama, his second term, with the flexibility, right? With the going gangster, like Chris Rock said it. Don't look at me. Chris Rock said that. How come you're not mad at Chris Rock, but you're mad at me? He said going gangster. Obama said flexibility when he was talking to Medvedev, who said, I'll transmit the information straight to Vladimir. And I thought, what am I watching? The Manchurian Candidate? Do you know about the Manchurian Candidate? You might want to watch the Manchurian Candidate. It made the top 100 movies in the American Film Institute. It made AFI's top 100 movies. Violence like this doesn't happen in other countries, says Barack Obama. That's what he says. Take a listen to Barack Obama, who is calling this a tragedy. And this is not just a church. It's a place where black people convene. It's a hate crime. It's another example of how white people hate black people in America. Is this guy an opportunist or is this guy an opportunist? Take a listen to this.
Like this too many times.
Oh, he's getting pissed.
Communities like this have had to endure tragedies like this too many times.
Communities like this. Like what? Black communities are under assault by white people. That is what is implied. You're implying a lot, Barack, but saying very little. Listen.
We don't have all the facts, but we do know that, once again, innocent people were killed in part because someone who wanted to inflict harm had no trouble getting their hands on a gun.
Yeah.
Now is the time for mourning and for healing. But let's be clear. At some point, we as a country will have to reckon with the fact that this type of mass violence does not happen in other advanced countries. It doesn't happen in other places with this kind of frequency.
America is a terrible place. And that's the report that he sent to the UN. He said that we discriminate against Muslims. He said that women have it really rough in America. Oh, my God. Compared to other countries in the world, he sent a report to the UN a month ago saying that the glass ceiling, that women have it rough in America. And now he's saying that in America, boy, there's too easy to get a gun. Now, he's bought more than 1 billion rounds of 40 caliber hollow points for his national security force, his national, what did he call it? The national force, civilian national security force. And again, my friend from Cuba, of Cuban lineage, knows what civilian national security forces look like. I knew it. I knew he was going to exploit this, and it makes me more angry than just a little. How about you? Phone number, if you want to join me, and let me make sure the lines are open. They sure are. Phone number is 850-252-8260. 850-252-8260. It's difficult for me to endure listening to him exploit the situation. But let's go. Let's listen a little bit more.
And it is in our power to do something about it.
Really? Really? It's in your power to do something about it? I got to hear this.
I say that recognizing the politics in this town foreclose a lot of those avenues right now.
The politics in this town have closed a lot of those avenues right now. Are you talking about the Second Amendment? The Second Amendment says what? Let's read this. And I'm going to share with you some gold right now. And I hope that you'll remember what I'm going to share with you, because you'll hear people say things. Do you notice that some people hear things and they parrot them and they think that they are, they think that they're conversation enders, like they're gotcha points. I'll give you an example. The Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia, comma, being necessary to the security of a free state, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Right? And what do people like to say? They like to talk about militias, and they like to talk about militias and muskets, the M&Ms, right? That's what they like to do, militias and muskets. But I'm going to share something with you. Anytime somebody brings that up, they say, well, you know, the founders didn't anticipate AR-15s. The founders, they did this back when we had militias because we didn't have an army. Or it says it's about militias, not people, Bernie. Now let's break the sentence down. A well-regulated militia, comma, so you've got an opening clause, being necessary to the security of a free state. You have a second clause. And then you have the point of the sentence, the main part of the sentence. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Here is the question to ask your militia and muskets, the M&M crowd. Ask them which of the two opening clauses mitigates or reduces the right of the people to keep and bear arms. I just gave you something that is the most important thing that I could possibly give you all day. Remember now, as Obama says, listen, right now he's calling for gun control. Listen.
But it'd be wrong for us not to acknowledge it. And at some point, it's going to be important for the American people to come to grips with it.
Come to grips with what? Say it.
And for us to be able to shift how we think about the issue of gun violence collectively.
Did you hear that? Shift the way we think about gun violence collectively. Now, where have I heard anything like that before? Do you know where? I know where. His former Attorney General, Eric Holder. Do you know what Eric Holder had to say about guns? Listen.
And what we need to do is change the way in which people think about guns, especially young people. One thing that I think is clear with young people and with adults as well is that we just have to be repetitive about this. It's not enough to simply have a catchy ad on a Monday and then only do it every Monday. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
Now, isn't that basically what Barack Obama just said?
And
isn't it? Listen to Barack Obama.
Foreclose a lot of those avenues right now. But it'd be wrong for us not to acknowledge it. And at some point, it's going to be important for the American people to come to grips with it. And for us to be able to shift how we think about the issue of gun violence collectively.
That's amazing, is it not? Here's the best thing I have for you, and I hope that you find it valuable. The next time you bump into the M&M crowd, the militias and muskets crowd, the Second Amendment is outmoded, it's outdated, the founders didn't anticipate AR-15s. The first answer to that is, did they anticipate the internet? Did they anticipate the radio? Did they anticipate television? And do any of those things mitigate or reduce the right of free speech? So if technology does not reduce free speech in the First Amendment, why does technology reduce the right to keep and bear arms in the Second Amendment? I can't wait to hear your answer. Take your time. You with me? It's a very important point. Here's another very important point. When they say this was about militias and muskets, say, okay, there are two opening clauses. And which of the opening clauses reduces the right of the people to keep and bear arms? Is it a well-regulated militia? Or is it being necessary to the security of a free state? Those are explanatory clauses. Those are not mitigating or reducing or limiting clauses. Those explain why it's important for free people to keep and bear arms. In fact, it's necessary. You can't be free unless you can do that. So you can brainwash whoever you think you can brainwash, but you're not going to brainwash me. But I'll tell you another thing. I don't believe for 1 second, do you? I don't believe for 1 second that Americans mean it when they say, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees, because I'm seeing too many Americans living on their knees. People I never would have expected living on their knees. Because once we get enough power, then we'll stand up and die on our feet. No, you won't. Now is the time. If not now, when? If not us, who? I love people who say, and this is what I was told a few times when I was with Talk Radio 101, and I never did. I never did. It comes with consequences, though, doesn't it? I never said what they wanted me to say so that one day when we got big and powerful, then we can say what we want to say. You know why? Because you'll forget who you are and you'll forget what the right thing is. And you know what's even more? People won't believe you anymore. If you don't stand now, they won't believe you later. Am I right or wrong? So the gold that I want to share with you has to do with the Second Amendment. Remember, there are two opening clauses. They are explanatory clauses. They actually lift the main point. They don't limit the main point. And the main point is the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Quick break, myfreedomradio.com. I'll be back with the rest of Obama's speech and his effort to let no serious crisis go to waste in his gun control brainwashing effort. And if you think I'm wrong, I welcome you to come learn me a thing or two about it. I just played for you Eric Holder and Barack Obama saying the same thing. In a slightly different way, but the same thing. We'll be right back in just a moment on myfreedomradio.com.
Listening to the Burnie Thompson Show. Stay tuned. More of you and Burnie.
All right, I want to actually shift gears because there's been something I wanted to learn about for a while, and the guy to ask is our friend Tho Bishop, and it has to do with Obama trade. Obama trade. We keep hearing about Obama wanting to open up a trade treaty of sorts. And I want to know what this is about, what the threats are about. I have my own sneaking suspicions. But let's welcome Tho Bishop, and I'll try to put this on speaker so that those of you watching on Periscope can hear as well. So, hey, Tho, are you with us?
I'm here.
Great, thanks. I appreciate you being with us. I know you're short on time, but this is so secretive. Obama trade. Let's start with at the beginning. What problem does Obama say he's seeking to address?
Well, this has been something that it's a Trans-Pacific partnership, and it is a trade agreement between America and several Asian countries. And this is something that has been in the works for a while. You know, this hasn't just sprung out in the last year or so. It's been something that's been on the back burner since even, I believe, the trade negotiations started under Bush. And they're just now kind of getting to the point where things are getting real. And so, you know, this is just, similar to NAFTA, similar to these other trade agreements in the past. It would, kind of regulate trade. And the goal is increasing trade between America and the Trans-Pacific partnerships here. That's the goal.
Okay.
Their intention. Now the problem is that with these agreements, much like NAFTA, as a libertarian, as an Austrian economist, follower of Austrian economics, we love free trade. Trade is what makes nations prosperous. It's what keeps peace. It spreads prosperity, and it allows for the division of labor internationally. The problem is that agreements like this are not actually free trade. They are managed trade between states.
Yeah.
There's a reason why why all of the details in this trade are being kept secret. Why this is going to be thousands of pages long, the way any other major piece of financial regulation is, or anything like that comes through the government. If you want free trade between America and these other nations, you can do it. Saying, okay, no tariffs, go on, trade.
Yeah.
It becomes so deep and so complex when they try to regulate and control the manners of trade going on through countries, and so that is what's going on right now. That's why it's really as controversial as it is.
It's really absurd to me. I mean, free trade, get out of the way. And you're right. What they're doing is they're calling it a free trade agreement, but it is of course, a managed trade agreement. And the reason that it's being kept so secretive, according to people like Senator Rand Paul, who you and I both like, is because within it are a whole bunch of other things. In fact, I would argue, though, that it probably has very little to do with trade and a whole lot to do with gun control and amnesty and spying on Americans.
Well, it deals with intellectual property. It deals with corporate regulation. It deals with all sorts of factors. And it says that, if you want to take I think the most favorable wording that you could use from the other side is that this is not a free trade agreement, but a trade promotion agreement. And they think that the rules that they're putting in place will increase the amount of trade between these countries, and that may be the case. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely not free trade. Whenever you hear someone selling it as a free trade agreement, it is dishonest. And what's been very interesting, though, is the coalitions that have risen up against TPA. And these, or TPP. It's a complicated issue just from a legislative standpoint, and I want to just take a second to clarify.
But that's part of the point too, isn't it? Though everything is so convoluted and complicated, that nobody, and I mean nobody, if you really read the bill or whatever it is that they put together. And your guy, Alexander Hamilton, made this point. He said, if a law is so voluminous that it's incomprehensible, then what good is it to have elected representatives at all?
I think someone at the Treasury Department must have just discovered that quote, and that's why they're trying to kick him off the tent. Because that if you follow that wisdom right there, then you eliminate just about everything that goes on in Washington.
That's right.
these days.
That's right.
But but what's interesting? So what they voted on recently, what the House defeated, struck down, was something called TPA, which is Trade Partnership Authority, something like that. So Trade Priority Authority, and that would have basically given the green light to the executive branch to enter the TPP agreement, the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, into kind of the final chapter. And if you listen to Paul Ryan, he'll tell you, oh, well, we need to do this because, oh, well, then that will increase Congress's role in the trade agreement, and we'll have to unleash the details 60 days before it can get voted on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact is that once they start getting on this highway, it's not going to stop. But what's really interesting is the coalitions that have been built around it, because on one side you have the left that disagrees with the agreement on protection of drought, right?
Right.
They want to prevent. Oh, well, we don't want foreign companies making our goods, foreign workers or American workers and this, that, and the other. So that's why it's unions and Elizabeth Warren and that sort of side, that side of it. Bernie Sanders is against it. Of course, those arguments, if you actually understand trade, I'm not sympathetic to.
Yeah, think about this though. How weird it is, though. It's a so-called trade agreement that the Democrats have distanced themselves from, but the establishment Republicans have joined basically with Obama. Right. And if I'm not mistaken, John Boehner and the leadership, they got beat on this one because of guys like Jim Jordan, right, from Ohio.
Yes, and that's the most important to take away from it. Now, if I were a betting man, I would say that eventually this is going to get passed. And it's bad. It's a bad agreement, but there might be some net benefits. And to me, this is passing TPP isn't the same as passing Obamacare or net neutrality. I don't think it's going to be a devastating, terrible, horrible loss for the economy. Compared to all the bad bills that come out of Washington, there's some good that might come from this.
But is it possible though? Is it possible though that what you're talking about is purely economics, but within this agreement there could be some disastrous things that have to do with executive amnesty and spying and so on and so forth.
It's very possible. It's very possible. But I expect the government already to do a lot of bad things. Basically, it's the most. There's going to be what I think a lot of people are afraid of is, you have the UN gun control treaty that's been in the works for years now. I think there are a lot of people afraid that that's going to come into this, and that itself would be a deal breaker. That would be devastating. And hopefully, I think that's one of the biggest dangers of passing TPA right now. But the most significant political ramifications of this is the coalitions that were built, because you're exactly right when you talked about Jim Jordan outmaneuvering John Boehner on this. And I think this, let's start off when this whole process starts with the Senate. Because basically what you had is you had Mitch McConnell give away all these with surrendering to Democrats on some important issues. Because the Democrats in the Senate said, well, we will not pass this if you do not, create a government program to help union workers, if you will not allow for a vote on the Exim Bank they want passed because for Corey capitalism, and these other concessions to Democrats.
So how bad has Mitch McConnell been on a scale of giving him a grade from A to F? How bad has Mitch McConnell been as the GOP leader of the Senate?
I'd give him a D, and I think the best thing I think about Mitch McConnell so far is the fact that he misplayed the Patriot Act situation so poorly from his perspective that it ended up helping those who oppose the Patriot Act. I will say, compared to Harry Reid, he is still a moderate improvement just in terms of parliamentary procedure, but that's a little, that's a little out there. But he has been a failure, and I think this right here, I think is a great demonstration of just how weak the Republican Party is in Washington at right now. Because consider this: you have a Republican-controlled Senate, you have a Republican-controlled House, which the leadership of both want this trade deal done. You have the Democratic president, you have Obama, that also wants this trade deal done. So if you have a Republican-controlled legislature and a president of the opposite party that wants this deal done, then why are the Republicans making concessions? And that is what Jim Jordan's entire position was in the House. And he basically said that, hey, I'm not necessarily against the Trans-Pacific Partnership, but you're not going to run through the Republican House a bill that makes all these concessions on battles that we've been fighting for years. I mean, we're talking about increasing the deficit in terms of protecting union workers. We're talking about enhancing, continuing one of the biggest examples of crony capitalism and the Exim Bank, none of which have anything to do with promoting trade from Asia.
Exactly.
And you have the Republican House that was more willing to negotiate with Nancy Pelosi than they were Jim Jordan and Justin Amash and Thomas Massie.
And you think about that, though. I mean, protecting union workers, it's not as though the union workers turn around and start voting Republican. It's as stupid as Jeb Bush saying that if we give amnesty, they're going to vote Republican. I mean, it's unbelievably stupid. And so why are they doing this? I have come up with two ideas. I think they are either on the take or they are compromised by NSA. Do you think either of those are possible?
I think either. There's definitely. I think there are probably many people that have personal gains that could come from this. But I think the major thing is that they want to do something. And this is the problem I think you have in politics as a whole, and comes from all levels of government, is that you have, every politician wants to do something. They want an accomplishment.
Yeah.
And I think you look around and you want, you have Boehner and you want McConnell and you want Paul Ryan that are so desperate to have a victory in their name, and they view this as a victory on trade. And so they are so desperate to get this done, to get something significant passed, so that they can put that on that they are willing to make any concession. They are willing to do anything that it takes, make any compromise to get something done just for their record. And I think that's a big drive for it. And so they're willing to make any deal with the devil on the left. But again, the key is that they're more willing to negotiate with the left than they are with the actual conservative members of the caucus.
Think
and
about
the fact
that.
They lost,
the GOP leadership is more eager to negotiate with Barack Obama than they are the conservatives in the House. The conservatives in the House are enemy number one to and it's because, do you know why it is, though? It's what you taught me. It's because the biggest change that I've seen in the last 20 years is it's not Republicans versus Democrats when it comes to the current D.C. situation. It's the insiders versus the outsiders. The insiders, being Boehner and Obama and McConnell and the rest of those kind of people, their biggest enemies are the real conservatives and even the real liberals. It's the Bernie Sanders and the Jim Jordans. They're the real issue.
Absolutely.
That's an amazing analysis, actually, that you gave me.
And again, they won. And this is the biggest victory that we've been talking for years now, propping up people like Amash and people like Jordan. Jordan created this House Freedom Caucus last year, remains of the Republican Study Committee that became completely co-opted by the establishment. I mean, that was supposed to be the radical caucus within Washington for the Republicans to kind of push leadership to the right. It got co-opted by leadership. This is something that's come up in the wreckage. And this is the first victory they have, and I think, and the fact that they, the first victory from the table is so important. So hopefully, this is a sign that in the future, we've been calling for years, wanting to change leadership of the Republican Party in D.C., and I think this has the opportunity to actually bring that about.
So Bishop, when are you going to be back in Panama City Beach?
Soon. I'll definitely let you know beforehand.
Did you hear that the Beach City Council finished their final vote and they banned beer on the beach in the month of March?
Yes, and scooters and everything else.
Sandcastles even.
Yeah, it's fair. But I do hear that we're now finding company with Iran and North Korea. All those other newsmakers. So there's
something going to break today or tomorrow. And that that is Keith Curry. I have news about Keith Curry that's going to knock your socks off. And I am giving a news outlet the first chance to report it. And if they don't report it, then this will be the only place that you can come and get the news. You will not believe what Keith Curry did. And I busted his ass. And we're going to show it. And you're not going to believe it. But in protest, though, and if you're not on Periscope right now and you're listening to the show, now is the time to go to Periscope or to go to YouTube, because I want you to see what I'm going to do in protest. Though right now in my hand, and you'll appreciate this, I have a Belgium bottle of beer. And it is called Fat Tire. Have you ever had Fat Tire beer?
One of my favorites.
And I have this I have this bottle opener I love. Listen, though, to this right here. Do you hear? Oh, yeah. And I'm on the internet, so guess what I get to do? Cheers to you, Tho Bishop, and to all of you. If you're on Periscope and you like it, give me some hearts, because Tho, this is for you. Cheers.
Excellent. Appreciate it. And congratulations on the new video component to the show. It looks great, and always good to see. Excited to see the new ways in which you can spread liberty throughout. Definitely need more of it.
And it's fun, isn't it? Though you and I talk about this. Liberty is subversive in a sense, so young people ought to embrace it. Democrats who used to want to be subversive ought to embrace it, because really we shouldn't live under a paternalistic government where people like Keith Curry, who act worse than spring breakers, get to vote on how we get to act. That's Bolshevik, and it's fun, isn't it, liberty?
Absolutely. It's no more important cause in human history.
All right. Hey, thanks so much, Tho Bishop. I can't wait to see you again. Thanks for being such a champion for liberty, and good luck at the Free Market Think Tank you're at.
Thank you, Burnie. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it very much. I always go to Tho Bishop if I need to learn a little something about economics or a trade deal or something. But as you can see, and again, if you're listening to the show, get your phone, and download Periscope. It is a free app, and then when you download it, search for the little @ sign, Burnie Thompson, Burnie, and then search for me and follow me, and every time I go live on the air, you'll be able to. It's very intimate. Oh, look at that. Sean Hannity's hair is with us. Hey, hair, this is for you. I'm protesting the no drinking on the beach, and actually, I anticipated drinking this last night with somebody, but he wasn't. Turned out it was the wrong house. I don't want to tip you off too much, but so I had a few. And sweetheart, if you're listening, I did leave a few of these for you in case you open up the fridge. But I'm protesting, and they haven't outlawed it on the internet. And even if they did, I don't think they could find me. So I'm going to go ahead and continue. This could end up being one hell of a show, to be honest with you. And cheers. And again, if you don't have the Periscope app yet, I can't even tell you how much you're missing out. But as I've learned with my kids, oh, the hearts are coming fast and furious. I love it. As I tell my kids, don't do it. So you watch. I could become the best salesman for the Periscope app by encouraging people not to do it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go online. You watch this, and I'm going to say, do not, under any circumstance, download the Periscope app. And it'll shoot up, and then I should actually get a commission for this. Boy, this is good. Have you ever had it? It's expensive beer, though. I'm on a budget. But this is good stuff. Amber Ale Fat Tire is what it's called. Those of you on Periscope who can see and communicate with me, it's a real tease, huh? It is. It's I can see you can communicate with me, and this beer is just teasing. Now, here's the thing: if Sarah is listening, or who sounds a lot, who make the same exact arguments as a couple of posters on Facebook, Joe and Regina, right? You got to admit that if how many times have you had somebody make this argument with you? I mean, just generally round figure, right? I'm going to give you the 1828 definition of liberty. How many times has somebody made that argument with you? exact same argument that somebody who's a troll on Facebook make. Now, and they're still trolling, by the way. These are the holier than holy molies. I mean, they're part of West Pittman's syndicate of sanctimoniousness. And I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised if they call an emergency meeting to ban drinking on the internet. Is that on the list? Oh, gee, that's already on their agenda. Well, again, cheers. This is going to be a good show. You got to join me. And if you're on YouTube at My Freedom Radio, cheers to you as well. And I got to confess, part of the reason, and some of you know this, part of the reason that I've never done video before on the radio is because I didn't want you to see the kind of things that take place. I didn't want to burn the eyes of the holier than holy molies. I didn't want to make the syndicate of sanctimoniousness have to go bathe in holy water. But you're going to see some things. I'm just warning you. Do you know in a half hour what's going to happen? In a half hour, the Bay County Commissioners, the great forbidders, are going to vote to ban scooters. They're going to vote to put a 29-year family business out of business. They earned their dollars. They provided service and goods that people wanted, people voluntarily paid for. And they've been deemed a nuisance by 5 politicians. And so they're going to ban the company. And also today, by the way, is Dump the Pump Day. The same Bay County Commission has deemed today Dump the Pump. Now, I think we'd be better if we dump the chumps at the county commission. And I wish that you would help me dump the chumps instead of dump the pump, because I'm going to get gas today. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go by Walmart and get a 5-gallon. I've needed one for a while because I'll run out of gas. Dump the chumps is exactly right. I run out of gas more than I should. So I need to get a 5-gallon little can of gas, and I'm going to go to the gas station, and I'm going to pump it up, and then I'm going to put gas in my car. It's going to be one of those kind of days. But they actually have a Dump the Pump Day. These guys, they encourage. I've never seen a group of politicians encourage people to not do business locally more than this group of the great forbidders, and they have businesses. George Gaynor has a dealership, and we shouldn't buy a car from George Gaynor. Mike Thomas has a diner and a donut shop. And I'm telling you, if we were starving in the desert, if we saw a mirage, we were so parched, we should not buy anything from Mike's Diner, ever. And that's a absolutely appropriate way to voluntarily protest these so-and-sos who vote to put people out of business. All right, if you haven't got Periscope yet, take a moment, download Periscope on your phone. If you like Fat Tire, give me some hearts. Here's a cheers. I'm going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to have Sarah from New York join us and comment on the shooting in Charleston. Barack Obama says gun violence like this doesn't happen in other countries. He wants to do something about it. He wants to change the way that we think about. Mike's Diner does not have a Twitter account, unfortunately. But I want you to hear what Eric Holder said a while back, and Obama repeated it today. Take a listen to what Eric Holder said about guns a while back. Listen to this.
Every Monday. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
Brainwash people about thinking about guns in a vastly different way. And Barack Obama today gave a speech
evidence-based government policies that actually show that they're helping
Yeah. You know,
in every other area of life.
Yeah, there's
It's
a
like they're being
Democrat
held
here.
accountable. In insurance companies want policies that work and practices that work, but the government never has to be accountable for its own stupid ideas.
There's a Democrat here who ran for office, and she ran on that platform. I think she called it good practice policy. That government should do a good practice policy. If it look at and see if it works before we renew it. But I told her that there's a difference, though. In my opinion, it wouldn't work even for government. I'll tell you why. Because it works in private business because of incentives, because they're dealing with their own money. But I think that the incentives are so perverted in government because they're not spending their own money. They're spending other people's money on other people for votes. It's impossible to implement a good practice policy because it'll be implemented by bureaucrats who are motivated by something other than what works.
Right, and their own salaries are paid by taxpayer money, and they have to justify why they're full-time, and that's why we get all these stupid laws by these full-time legislators, and their career legislators and politicians, and the whole concept of going to Washington and doing your civic duty and then going back and doing what you did before has been lost. We have career politicians now, and it's totally it's a very corrupting culture that's developed.
I need to tell you, Sarah, that I'm protesting the Panama City Council. They voted no beer on the beach, no alcohol on the beach in the month of March. So they've punished residents for the crimes of spring breakers. So I'm protesting. I'm having a beer right now. So you're talking to a guy. Just got to make sure you know. Here's a cheers for you. I'm drinking a beer on the show. Do you feel safe?
Yeah, I feel safe. I'm fine with that. Yeah, I think I can handle it. So they banned it just for the month of March?
For now. For now, it's
no
just
other month.
Yeah. What I did last weekend on the beach, I put my toes in the sand and I had a beer or two, and I can do that 11 months out of the year. But if I do that same act in March, they will arrest me. Not a fine, an arrest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the behavior. It's kind of like anti-gun laws in the hands of people who have poor values or trouble controlling themselves or are mentally ill. Certain things like guns and substances like alcohol may not be used wisely. But in the right hands, it's not necessarily a problem.
Right. Anti-beer laws, I guess, is... and they also, get a load of this. In fact, in about 15 minutes, the county commission is convening another special meeting, the county commission, and they are going to vote to put a scooter business out of business. There's scooter madness, like reefer madness, but it's scooter madness. The county commission, these 5 great forbidders, they have banned sandcastles. They have banned scooters.
I don't understand that. Sandcastles?
Yeah, leave no trace on the beach. You're not allowed to, and the metal objects, the shovels, they could be used as deadly weapons. So they have no kidding, they have banned now, because of the pressure of Sean Hannity, no joke, they have banned sandcastles and scooters because, you ready for this? Because there was an alleged gang rape. Now, you and I both know that sandcastles and scooters are the gateway activities to gang rape. I mean, it's straight to that.
Right.
Is that insane?
Yes. Now, what if Sean Hannity is promoting this?
Yeah, he wants a spring break crackdown, and is that crazy? I'm doing my best to get on his radar because I want to tell him I believe Sean Hannity has the best intentions. I really do. But what's happened is we have a Democrat slip and fall attorney who has befriended him and who comes with this faux moral outrage. His end game is to blanket us in surveillance cameras because they come in real handy in his injury lawsuits. So he's got Sean Hannity spun up about So what about the secret trade deal? You know what I noticed, Sarah, in
What's
America
that?
these days? In America, one of the hallmarks is whether it's a law, whether it's a rule, whether it's a treaty, we have to pass it before you can find out what's in it.
Yeah,
That's a
how it was
new
with
thing.
Obamacare.
Hmm. That's a new thing in America. What are your thoughts on this, if you have any?
You know what? I have to say I've not been following it really well. So I'm going to pass on that topic. Maybe it's because, I don't know, I just haven't been that interested. But I've noticed the people who are supporting it and who aren't supporting it, and um, it seems to me that it's suspicious and it may not be a good thing.
Yeah, there's a lot in it too. If they say it's a trade deal, it's probably about something else. That's my new thought. If they say it's about health care, it's probably about something else.
Well, just like Obamacare, right? You sell your house, and now there's a special Obamacare tax. You sell your house because that really has directly, it's related to health care.
Did you experience that? I know people who have experienced that. It's a nightmare.
No, I haven't, because I still own my home in California, thankfully.
Yeah. Well, if you don't pay property taxes, they'll take it from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're really leasing it then from the government.
Right.
I know somebody who married a Chinese American, and they go to China often, and they have a house in China, and they said they don't pay property taxes. He said I could leave and come back 4 years later, and the house is still there, but you can't do that in America.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is. The government is just so bloated. It's so different from what the founding fathers envisioned, and every day that this man Obama is in office as president, you just never know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
But I know what's got to happen after him is we cannot have Hillary Clinton in office.
Well, I don't want Clinton and I don't want Bush. I'll tell you that.
But wait a second, Bernie. I don't like Jeb Bush either, but if it's Jeb Bush versus Hillary Clinton,
I would probably want Hillary Clinton.
No.
Probably, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
I'll tell you why. I would rather be adversaries with my adversaries than adversaries with my friends. And any Republican who pushes for amnesty, as hard as Jeb Bush pushes for amnesty, you will take the Republican Party and make it obsolete. I mean, absolutely obsolete. I think that what Jeb Bush is doing, and along with others, I think they are damaging the Republican Party. They are on the slip and slide to obsolescence. I would rather be enemies with my enemies than enemies with my friends. And I want Republicans to know that you better be a conservative or you're not going to be there at all. My problem with Jeb Bush is he doesn't realize if we have amnesty for 15 or 20 million illegal aliens or dreamers, as he calls them, if there is no America, there is no Republican Party.
Right.
That's how strongly I feel about this. I think Hillary Clinton is one of the worst human beings in America. I think Jeb Bush is a better human being, but not much. I look at those two as basically one of the best examples I have of my point, that it's less Republican versus Democrat than insiders versus outsiders. These two are the quintessential insiders.
Yeah, I hear you, and I'm not a fan of his. I'm not. I don't think he's going to be the nominee anyway.
I don't either. I sure hope not.
Yeah.
Did you see, James Rosen, I believe it was, asked the White House spokesman about Al-Qaeda. He said the president said pretty much a couple years ago that Al-Qaeda was pretty much done. And then we've got the rise of ISIS, which is a spinoff.
on the left, actually, who defended George W. Bush going into Iraq, because all the nations at the time and the UN, we all thought that they had weapons of mass destruction, which I think they did. I think they just carted them off to Syria, but that's another story.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, Sarah, thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate it as always.
Great being here.
All right, I'll talk to you next week.
All right.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
so much. Sarah from New York, who is a regular contributor. Lines are open, by the way. If you want to comment on President Obama taking the shooting in Charleston and invoking race and invoking gun control, I'm going to give you the phone number. And I also want to reiterate something that is probably the most important thing I can share with you today. The phone number is 850-252-8260. 850-252-8260. Now, I've been called a liberal lately by the West Pittman. You know what's interesting? In fact, hold on, let me take another cheers sip here. I'm protesting today no beer on the beach by drinking one of my favorite beers on the show. And it's called Fat Tire. It's a Belgian beer, and if you haven't had it yet, you ought to give it a try. Just don't do it in March, or they'll arrest your ass. They will. They voted to do that. And pretty soon there's going to be more votes in this county to outlaw the scooters. The Bay County Commission is going to... Do you notice they do that now? The Bay County Commission bullies and pressures the Beach City Council, and the Beach City Council basically does what they're told to do. Now, I know this from the inside, okay? I know this from the inside. They are scared to death, and they're going to learn that it's not just Keith Curry who will be bounced out. It's not just going to be the jerks and the belligerent ones and the hostile ones. It'll even be the nice ones. So if you're a very kind and nice and docile city council member, but you vote like a vicious, great forbidder, we will either recall you or vote you out. And if you're super nice and friendly, or if you're like John Riegert even. John Riegert wears leather, he rides motorcycles, he yelled at West Pittman. He said, it's over the line there, it's over the line, council. And then he pretty much, and I'm just going to say it like this, and if it ticks you off, John Riegert, then you're welcome to come on and tell me how I'm wrong. But pretty much you licked Wes Pittman's shoes because you did every damn thing he told you to do. Everything he told you to do. You yelled at him, you huffed and you puffed, but you didn't blow any houses down. And I like the leather. I like the motorcycles. I like that for military veterans. But you know what? John Riegert, you're not being asked to storm the beaches of Normandy. You're just being asked to stand up against a slip and fall lawyer. And you're having trouble doing that? As a matter of fact, John Riegert, Councilman Riegert, I would ask this question. Don't invoke veterans at all if you're going to lick the shoes of Wes Pittman. Don't act like Mr. Tough Guy if you're actually going to lick the shoes of. And by voting for everything he said, that's essentially what you did. Is that over the line? I wouldn't like to be, I would hate it if somebody said that about me. But you know what? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. This is the interesting thing. Wes Pittman's syndicate of sanctimoniousness, Wes Pittman's holier than holy mollies, right? These guys, do you know what they call me on Facebook with their trolls? A troll, by the way, is an online agitator. It's an online protester, and they all have talking points. And they'll go on and they'll try and disrupt. It's a tactic of Democrats. And Wes Pittman is a Democrat. And so is Hector Solis. Most of the people who have befriended and beguiled Sean Hannity. Yeah, I'm writing that down. Do you like that? If you like that and you're on Periscope, if you touch the screen, touch that screen, you watch the hearts go up. That's kind of like saying like. there they go, baby. If a boot comes along, we must lick it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's like, we need a meme for that, don't we? That's very good, Jeff. So, befriended and beguiled Sean Hannity with their faux moral outrage so that they could get more of the money diverted to, and Wes Pittman said as much, for the big developers who are watching. You've got big developers. And then he said, we've got a lot in common with North Korea, Syria, and Iran. And even after he insulted you like that, John Riekert, you did it. You went along with him. And Rick Russell, you did too. And I just met Rick Russell. Nice guy. But you voted to steal somebody's business from him. You voted to be a... I mean, that's criminal. You can't steal from somebody, and you did, because you're afraid to stand on the truth. But it's something else, isn't it? When I get called a liberal by Democrats, and do you know why they do it? Because they actually think I'm going to take time to argue with them. But I'm not going to take time to argue with them. I'm going to take time to drink a beer. That's right, just like I'm doing right here on the show, to protest. Cheers. To protest the ban of drinking on the beach in the month of March. Anytime a government says it is illegal to do something 1 month, but legal to do it 11 other months, that government is an illegitimate government. Am I right or wrong? All right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Quick break. Pop open another beer, and you can join me. And if you haven't yet, if you haven't done something as simple as download the free Periscope app and search for me and follow me at Burnie Thompson, B-U-R-N-I-E, you're missing out, because you can watch the show, you can contact me, you can comment right on the screen. I'm looking at you right now on Periscope, and you can watch the show and participate. You can link arms again, even better than ever. Is this, honestly, isn't this even better than when I was on Talk Radio 101, the Periscope app? I mean, I couldn't invite everybody into the Liberty Lounge, but I can now. You're right here with me. The Periscope app, it's free. Search and follow me, and every time I go live, you'll get a little... Do you get that on your phone? Does it do that on Androids too, or is it just on the iPhones? And of course on YouTube, if you search My Freedom Radio. Oh, we're going to do our best to give you more. Oh, I've got so much new stuff for you. More platforms and venues for you to link arms so that we can do all we can to bounce people like Keith Curry out. And, I might as well tell you something since you're here with me. I gave a tip yesterday to WMBB about Keith Curry.
have been deemed a nuisance by the great forbidders. I insist that the greater nuisance is a capricious and arbitrary government that can vote to shut us down. Would you agree with that? I was driving here today, and I drove past a Florida pest control truck. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if the Florida pest control truck drove to the county commission and got rid of the biggest pests that we face, and that's local politicians doing the bidding of the crony capitalists who are funding their campaigns and who want to bring lawsuits. Now, do you agree with me? And the phone lines are open too. I'd love to hear from you, whether you're listening on myfreedomradio.com or whether you're watching on Periscope, the free app where you can actually communicate with me in real time. I can read your comments. I'll try to reply to your comments. I can see when you like what I'm saying because you touch the screen and the hearts will fly. YouTube's really the coolest. Look at that. It's got my tweets as well. We're really getting this thing down. I got to tell you, when I got bounced out on my ear from Talk Radio, do you know what they tried to do? They tried to take my Freedom Radio from me. They did. The Talk Radio 101, they tried to take my website and they tried to take my Facebook page. Well, they couldn't do that. So I left and I tried to bring you with me. And so far, we're increasing the ways that you can access the show. And by doing that, people are getting ticked. I know they're getting ticked because I have been getting two things more than I even did on Talk Radio 101. Two things. One, I have been getting tips. You will not believe. And the administrators, isn't this app great? Who said that? It's a great app. This is more fun than Talk Radio 101. This is more fun than FM radio. This is, in a sense, more fun than TV, the Periscope app, because I can talk directly to you and you can talk directly to me in real time. It's fantastic. And you know what? I got to tell you, it's like the printing press. It's like the modern day printing press. One of the greatest tools to champion liberty that ever came about was the printing press. Those of you waiting eagerly for the Sean Hannity show, you just hold your horses. It's coming, but it's not coming from here. But you'll get your fix soon enough, boy. And then you'll be riveted. Yeah, you'll be on edge, boy. I'll tell you what. But, speaking of that, I need to protest again. I need to protest the city council and the county commission. See, I've got one of my favorite beers that my sweetheart introduced me to. It's called Flat Tire. Can you see this? It's a Belgium ale. I've only had one. But the cool thing about it is this is America, right? We can have as many as we want to. Now, I've just freaked out the Syndicate of Sanctimoniousness. All right, they are right now probably confessing. But this here, you can hear this. There we go. I got the coolest little bottle opener. And if you're on Periscope, I'll show you. It's not only a bottle opener, it's a knife. Is this the coolest thing ever? If it's a cool thing, you just touch the screen there, see? And I keep this thing with me. Just kidding. See, Periscope, you can watch everything. On YouTube, you can watch everything. But this is my little protest. They have not yet, as far as I know, they have not yet outlawed drinking on the internet. So cheers to you. It's not too early. It's 1:45 where I am. Boy, it gets better the more it gets illegal. Do you notice that? That things get better the more they get illegal. Now that's one of the benefits that you don't really notice, and that's one reason I hope they ban more things. I hope they ban all the things because then I'll enjoy them more. The more things they ban, the more fun I have. I'm not moving the beer. Those of you on Periscope are saying move the beer. Look, there are things called stores where I got this from. You can, and sweetheart, there's some more in the fridge. But yeah, do you know that? I'll tell you what's coming if you lift your gaze. If you lift your GAZE, I'll tell you what's coming. They're going to ban coolers. They're going to ban coolers.
what today is, right? Dump the pump. Who's going to get gas today? Whenever I give a speech, I do this. I ask people questions like this. I say, who's going to go get gas today? And then I say, who's not going to go get, by a show of hands, who's not going to go get gas today? And then I notice a lot of people don't raise their hand. And then I say, no matter what I say, who won't raise their hand? And then then all the hands come up. But I guess I have a rebellious side, and I wasn't always this way. I mean, I was in the military. I had to abide by rules. I had to wear a uniform and salute and all that stuff. But the more they say that we can't do things, the more I want to do them. Are you like that? Especially when, and we had that call. You know what I want to call with you if you missed it. I want to share the call from yesterday from Sarah, who sounded a hell of a lot like Joe and, what's her name, Abigail? What's the, Regina. Abigail and Regina, of those two names, I really like the name Abigail, actually. There are a few names I like. Do you know another name I like? Hazel. I haven't met anybody named Hazel under 83 in I don't know how long. So now they're older than 83. I like Hazel is a name I like. And no, I've never dated a Hazel. But I do know somebody who dated two guys named Sundance. I know somebody who dated two guys named Sundance. Can you believe that? All right, let's see. I've gotten myself out of where I need to be because I want you to hear this. All right, here we go. This was from yesterday, and it's an important call because you talk about the people who want to ban all the things. I'm going to share this with you right now. So take a listen to this call from yesterday. It's going to do two things. It's going to give you a chance to think it through, and it's going to give me a chance to drink a brew. Is what it's going to do. So here we go. This was from yesterday, a call that I had from Sarah, the only person I know who keeps making this argument. If you came across somebody only for once in your life who said the definition of liberty from the 1828 dictionary, and then you meet somebody else you never saw them before, and they say the definition, wouldn't you start to go ding ding ding? Probably the same person, right? So here we go. This is from yesterday. Take a listen to this. Welcome to the Burnie Thompson Show. Who are we speaking with?
This is Sarah.
This is Sarah?
It is.
Sarah, I missed what you said yesterday.
I don't remember what I said.
Oh, well, what's on your mind?
Can I give you the definition of liberty from the 1828 Webster's Dictionary?
Yes. Is this Regina?
No, this is Sarah.
This is Sarah, okay. Because Regina and Joe like to talk about liberty from the 1828 Webster's Dictionary. I'd love to hear it. Go ahead.
It says civil liberty is the liberty of men in a state of society, or natural liberty so far only abridged and restrained as is necessary and expedient for the safety and interest of the society, state, or nation. A restraint of natural liberty not necessary or expedient for the public is tyranny or oppression. Civil liberty is an exemption from the arbitrary will of others, which exemption is secured by established laws, which restrain every man from injuring or controlling another. Hence, the restraints of law are essential to civil liberty. The liberty of one depends not so much on the removal of all restraints from him as on the due restraint upon the liberty of others.
Do you know what my
That's what it defines it as.
Do you know what my definition of liberty is?
What?
It is freedom plus morality. Would you agree with that?
Depends what your definition of morality is.
Okay, well, let's define.
Everybody has different definitions of morality.
That's a good point. What is your definition of morality?
Morality is when you do things according to the way that God has required us and has deemed morality.
Okay.
Morality is not doing things that you're not supposed to and think it's okay.
Agreed. So let's take vice. Do you think that vice something that government should outlaw?
If what should be outlawed?
Vice, like say drinking too much or gambling. Should government outlaw vice?
Government is going to do what it wants to do.
Government should not do what it wants to do. The people should do what they want to do. But should government outlaw vice?
I think so because it's not good for anybody to get involved in that because it becomes addiction.
But God Almighty gives you free will. God Almighty won't strike you dead with a lightning bolt if you go gamble, but the government will.
No. No, God does give you free will, but in hope that you will turn to Him and follow Him the way He wants.
So you want government to be more powerful than God?
Well, nobody's going to ever be more powerful than God. But while you're on this earth, you can do what you want when you want. But when you die, you're going to stand before God and have to atone for everything. And when He looks at you and say, "Your name's not in my book of life,"
here's
what I think.
Here's what I think. I think that those of you who look to government above the gospel to control your fellow neighbors are committing a form of idolatry. You put the government.
No, I don't do that.
Yes, you do. You put the government above the gospel, and that's a form of idolatry. You think that man can lord over man. That is even Jesus didn't tell the harlot, "Hey, Romans, come arrest this woman," but you would. That's a form of idolatry to put the government above the gospel. You think you are being righteous, but you're not. I'm listening. I'm listening. All right. I guess we lost her. What do you think of that? Phone number is 850-252-8260. But my suggestion to you is that if you look to the government rather than moral suasion, you have made yourself, you've put yourself higher than God Almighty or Jesus. Did Jesus ever blow the whistle and say, "Come arrest this harlot. Harlot, you're one of those kind"? No. He used moral suasion. And those of you who are so self-righteous that you look to the government above the gospel, you're committing a form of idolatry. And as a matter of fact, I'll go further than that. I think what you have done is used God's name in vain. I'm not the most religious guy in the world, but I'm smart enough to know that I don't lord over you, and I don't use the words of the Bible to try to go to the government of flawed men to use coercion and strike somebody down when God Almighty won't do it. And I'll tell you more, since you went away. I'll tell you why God loves us and government doesn't, and neither do you, by the way. If you want to use Keith Curry and the police to crack down and smash down on your neighbors because you can't use moral suasion the way Jesus did, WWJD, he didn't call the Romans and he didn't call Keith Curry. Let me tell you something. God loves us because he gives us free choice. He tells us what's right and wrong, and he allows us free agency. The government does not do that. The government is about obedience. God Almighty is not about obedience. And you should know that. You sound a lot like you would make a great ISIS member, to be honest with you. If you believe the government or man should crack down on fellow man for committing vice, you ask me my definition of morality. I would say there's a difference between, let's make this distinction, the difference between morality and ethical behavior. Okay? Let's use the golden rule. What is hateful to you, don't do unto others. Some of you think it's it's do unto others what you'd have them do unto you. Believe me, that's not a good idea for a lot of people. Don't do unto others what is hateful to you. Don't steal. Don't lie. Don't kill. Don't murder. These are the rules that government puts before us. When you start to act like God and say that people shouldn't gamble, and you want Keith Curry to improve people's moral behavior, yes, indeed, you have put the government above the gospel. You think you're righteous, but you are really a great forbidder, and you would make a terrific member of ISIS. When we come back, I'll take your calls. Not sure what. All right, that was from yesterday, and I thought it was important enough to also, just in case the holier than holy molies are listening or even watching perhaps on Periscope or on YouTube. If you haven't gone on YouTube yet, wow, are you ever missing out? Well, I think so. I wish I could have brought you into the Liberty Lounge back in the day, but in many ways, this is even better. Oh, this is even better. I can communicate with you directly on this incredible, easy, and fun new app called Periscope. Is it not great? Are you going to tell all your friends about Periscope? And we can and we can link arms and we can do our best to expand freedom and protect the family budget. It's easy and it's fun. But on YouTube, if you search for My Freedom Radio, one word, My Freedom Radio, you can also do it there. That's going to do it for us. You can't see it, but the sand is gone all the way through the hourglass. And I've got some work to do post-show. Thanks for being with us. Really, I have some big news. WMBB has declined to bring you the news. I haven't decided yet how I'm going to deliver it to you or exactly when I'm going to deliver it to you, but it has to do with Keith Curry, and you're just not going to believe it. I'm not trying to tease you or hold you on. It's not a gimmick. I'm just trying to decide how exactly to bring it to you so that it's the most effective way that we can do it and the most honest and true way that we can do it. Because, listen, it is, as I said, not easy to be able to stand up in front of the great forbidders and speak your mind for the 3 minutes that they give you. And for one of them to single you out and tell you to shut up and put on your big boy pants, listen, that could chill. That could really chill public